We are currently over halfway through the year. How it's already July, I don't know. But it is a great time to reflect on your goals, whatever you set at the beginning of the year, or maybe you set it in the middle on a random Tuesday in October last year. Regardless, now is a good time to review your goals. And with that, we're going to talk a little bit about how to set realistic goals for yourself, especially as you're reflecting on the beginning of this year. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the personal trainer and running coach at Kathletics. Here at Kathletics, we're all about meeting you where you are in your fitness so you can approach hybrid training in a sustainable way. In today's video, we're going to use a race as an example of a goal. So, if you are racing or planning on racing, say next spring, this is a great time to consider what your goal is, how you should go about it, and things like that. So, let's get into it. First things first, we want to figure out what the goal is. So, is the goal to cross the finish line? Is it to feel good crossing the finish line? Is it to test your body and see how it does going a distance that you've never raced before? Is it to beat your last time at this specific race, or is it the same distance as a previous race and you just want to see how you do on different terrain or a different approach? Things like that. There are many ways that you can approach a goal rather than being like, okay, I want to go fast. I get it. We all want to go fast. But we want to make sure that the goal is realistic and that you're setting yourself up for success so you can not only PR or, get that main goal, but also feel good doing it because honestly, sure, you can cross the finish line and PR, but if you feel like was it worth it? I don't know. So, how I want to go about this is to ask yourself what your current fitness abilities are. Do you have years of experience? Have you raced this distance before? Have you been training in this realm for a while? Have you been running every other day? Have you ran once every other 3 weeks? What does that look like? Because ultimately, that's going to give you a lot more information of how you can approach your race and how you could feel going about the race. For example, if somebody has more of an aerobic base, getting into it 6 months in advance, I guess that's probably further than that at this point. So 8 to 9 months in advance, you're going to probably be okay to continue to build your aerobic base, build your capacity, get into that peak cardio zone, and really getting specific with it as you get into those last 12 ish weeks up to the race. Or if you're having to start building, so if you are someone that has been running once every 3 ish weeks or whenever you're kind of feeling like it, then now might be a good time to focus on building your aerobic base. And then, yes, we have plenty of time to get specific as it comes up, but it will take some time to build that aerobic base before getting more specific rather than already having that built up. So, when you are developing your goal, the first thing is to identify what your timeline is, because that's going to tell you right there whether or not it's realistic. Now, if you were to say, hey, Catherine, I want to race a 50K in September, and I typically only run 5 miles a week, and it's July 2nd, I probably would suggest that that's not a great idea. And that's not because I don't think you can do it. A lot of people can do things, but that doesn't mean that they should. So we want to make sure that we feel decent and that we are prepared so we're not overtraining, injuring ourselves, or ultimately just feeling like junk on the race day. So we want to make sure that the timeline is realistic, and that's also where working with a coach can be really beneficial. If that someone is you, go ahead and click the link in the description below so you can learn more about our coaching. The second thing that I mentioned is, of course, you always want to make sure where your fitness abilities are. So that is something that you want to address. Third, what does your training availability look like? And this is something that we often overlook because we think, oh, big picture. Yeah, I've got plenty of time to train. If it's not till March, I can do this. It's only July. Like, I've got plenty of time. Well, as time continues to go on, even though we may not be super race specific right now, we need to be putting in the work so we have that base. And again, I don't want to over talk about base building right now, but we need to have some sort of baseline in order to get even more specific because there's other things to consider as well. Like, we want to make sure that we're still strength training. We want to make sure that we're feeling good overall. So in order to do that, we need to have at least 4 days, 3 to 4 days of dedicated exercise. Because if you're currently struggling to get, say, 2 or 3 workout sessions in a week, it's going to be really hard to be prepared for, say, a marathon or even higher than that. I mean, even a half marathon at that, if you are unable to get more than 2 to 3 sessions in a week. especially as you're preparing. You want to set yourself up for success and be really honest with yourself. Like, do I have the time in order to put in the work and be prepared? Because otherwise, that doesn't mean that we need to completely take a race off the table, but maybe that means we need to reevaluate what distance we're racing or what the expectations are when we cross the finish line. So, say if you are trying to run a half marathon, but you can only run 2 days a week, I'd probably suggest, hey, what if we bump down to the 5K? That seems maybe a little bit more doable based on the schedule that you have. So, again, being really real with yourself and honest about what the expectations are and what your training availability looks like in order to give yourself what you're looking for. Number 4, you are monitoring yourself, whether that is you holding yourself accountable, you're working with a coach who's holding you accountable, or if you are relying on some of your peers to hold you accountable. You want to make sure that you're monitoring your progress in some way so you can see how you are adapting as well as how you're setting yourself up for success. We need to have these check ins regularly to make sure that it still makes sense to do this on the timeline that you've set for yourself. One way that I like to monitor and check in with my clients with a specific race, especially if we have quite a bit of time before the actual race, is to have a check in race. If you are going for a 10K, okay, let's do a check in 5K. If you're doing a marathon, let's have a check in half marathon. Let's see how things are going, halfway through the training cycle, so we can really see if we're heading in the right direction, if we're hitting the markers that we were anticipating, and if we need to make any alterations. Overall, setting a realistic goal is really only doing yourself a favor. You are setting yourself up for success and setting the expectations of what's to come. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, be sure to like, subscribe, and then we'll see you in the next one.